Hello ladies and gentlemen, Rosie here, and today I want to make another video on the Keystone killer idea. I've already made a video on the Keystone idea, so I will probably pin a comment with a link to the original video so you can kind of understand what this idea is and how it could really fix Dead by Daylight. Okay? But I'll provide a basic argument here. A basic argument for what the Keystone idea is that there are certain individual characters in the game that represent the general health of Dead by Daylight. And like, when those characters are viable, that is when you are done with core changes, okay? That's the very, very basic idea. You can watch the other video to understand more about it, okay? And those characters are the mid-tier characters, these characters right here, okay? And this is a rough draft of my tier list prior to the patch that we just got. Okay, hold on. Trickster's kind of in the wrong place. We moved him up a little bit. He was kind of fighting right here, and I had raised Clown up a little bit as well. Like, and then Ghostface I had moved a little lower. So this is kind of what the tier list was kind of looking like. This is not the exact order. Some characters are a bit out of order, but and then we dropped Pinhead into Keystone because I believe he was a Keystone. But in general, this was kind of the idea, okay? So that you would do core changes till the B+ characters are viable, okay? Now that we have gotten the boon totems in the game, I believe we can now visualize the unhealthy meta shift. I would like to preface this that this version of my tier list is not final, and it will definitely be changing by December when I put more thought and care and attention into it. But this is, I want to visualize the unhealthy meta shifts that we're dealing with, okay? So the perk that has unhealthily changed the meta is obviously Circle of Healing, okay? This is one of the most overpowered perks they've put in the game in a long time, and I will continue to advocate it needs a nerf. I think Patrick was wrong with the 25% adjustment. I don't think that was enough. I think they need to lower it to like 10, but maybe even cut back on some of the speed. Maybe it's 50% faster and not 100. I think there's a lot of things you can do to kind of tone that shit down. Multiple different options we could take. If they want to, the bigger it is, the shorter its fucking bonus should be. But never mind. That's beside the point. A lot of ideas on how to nerf that perk. What I want to understand here is, again, this is just my tier list, but like, I want to show you an example of an unhealthy meta shift, because you are going to see the tier that is the most important to the game, the Keystones. You're going to see that tier change radically because of this. Okay, so let's now adjust the game for the nerfs that have come in. Okay, so we'll do Circle of Healing last. Okay, Pig got a buff, a very decent buff. She got an early game add-on. I think she's in this tier. I'm not going to order this. This isn't order. This is just very general. Plague got a buff. Keystone. She was very Keystone. Okay. Shitslinger got a nerf. He fell out of Keystone. Okay. Again, this is not ordered. Okay. Trapper buff. Very generously. Gonna just throw him in here for right now. Just very generous though. Okay. Okay. So. And now we're going to do the implementation of the boon mechanic. Basically, the boon mechanic has kind of went forth and shaped the tier list accordingly. Okay? So, we're looking at some massive shifts here, okay? So basically, Circle of Healing has destroyed anybody that relies on heals. Okay? So, the following characters... Oh, and Spirit was nerfed. So, yeah. Okay, so the following characters have been drastically affected by this. Okay? Drop. Bubba's really much better now. Let's see here. Rise. Fall. Massive fall. And then accounting for boons. I don't know. I think it's possible even more characters have fallen. But you can see how radically... You can see the unhealthy meta shift in action. And if you want to even go further, you could put Trapper back down here. shit, like, I don't know. I think that's about where we are right now. Just, this is a very, so like, look what happened. Look what happened. Look what you did to the game. Okay? And it's even possible that some of the even more gimmicky characters that rely on heals as much as like someone like Twins do, it's even possible, dare I say, that they're even down here now because of one awkward perk. Okay? Now, it's very unfortunate, and it's like, even it could even be worse. It could even be worse. Like somebody like Doctor could have, like, you'd think if he falls, he would fall to Keystone. But because like what a Keystone is now is like radically different. Because look at all the Keystones. You have Pyramid Head, who tunneling. He has access to free tunnels. That's never bad. Plague, counter Circle of Healing. Billy can instant down. Bubba has risen to a very good position, counters instant downs. It's possible that maybe Freddy is now a Keystone. Maybe, but I don't know. I still think he's got teleport, so he's got map mobility. Hag could have even fallen down here because of Circle of Healing. Like, it is insanely likely that this is a reality right now. Look at what the boon totems potentially did to the game. You have transformed the roster to where everybody is now worse than the previous Keystones. Like, look at this. This is a fucking mess. And unfortunately, this is possibly the reality that we now live in. I'm going to try to keep working to maybe get a few of these characters up a little bit more. But on paper, what this is right here is not too far of a stretch from the reality we now live in. Okay? Because of the fucking moon totems. Is it going to stay that way? I certainly hope not. And I think my hope is that boons were a pre-MMR concept. They were being discussed and implemented before MMR was implemented into the game and before the stats could be seen. So hopefully MMR fixes this, because this, like, the boons are a product of the ranking system and ranking system stats. They're a product of the emblem system. So it is now MMR's job to come in here and fucking clean that shit up. The boons were announced way back in the anniversary mechanic, so they're not a product of MMR. Very, very, very insane looking list now. And again, this is probably not the most accurate, but like, look what they did to roster viability, because you gave survivors too much unchecked power. Like, this is the example of an unhealthy meta shift. You can now see every character is now in a bad spot. And even because of a surplus in the tier, you could argue that now you should lower some characters even down further to kind of compensate for the disgusting tier placement of what it is. Because nobody gets in Keystone that doesn't deserve it. You have to be a certain level of power to hit Keystone. That's why these tiers are allowed to be more crowded than the tiers above them. Okay? Before, while it wasn't perfect, we had a nice distribution. We had a nice distribution of characters that were, we had about 5 Keystones, 5 characters that were performing above a Keystone level, and then 4 characters that were doing very well. Now, we have fucking not that at all. Like, this is insanely, insanely bad. And it's all because of the Circle of Healing. This is how much Circle of Healing has changed the game. Like this perk is OP. Of course it's OP, because it's causing a shift that hasn't been seen since Medal of Man. And a big shift, too, at that. That's what it's doing. Like, the tier list has not changed this much since Medal of Man came in. It really hasn't. And I was there. I was there. The tier list has not changed this much since Medal of Man was dropped. That is a meta shift and an unhealthy one. You can track it through the idea of the Keystone character. And I don't like what I'm seeing right now. So hopefully MMR flattens this up and makes this easier to comprehend. And hopefully Circle of Healing is just a perk that specifically, like, beats the characters like Twins that really need to heal. And then, like, a character like a Hag, it'll flatten back out and she can go back up to A tier. Okay? Or you can say Hag is a Keystone, but I don't think that. I don't think Hag is a Keystone. I think Hag is dropped because of one perk in the game. So I think that is a problem perk. I don't think Hag is now a Keystone. I think that a meta shift of this magnitude is design of a problem perk in Dead by Daylight. Because you could look at this list and go, okay, well, maybe, bro, maybe it's just that Freddy and Twins and Hag are now Keystone. And now look at that. That's a little better, isn't it? No, these characters shouldn't be your Keystones. Not with Circle of Healing in the game and negating them. Because they're weak. They're too weak right now for Keystone. The only characters that I see strong enough for Keystone right now are these three. And then Bubba's better than that. Oni still has some instant now, but Oni doesn't like healing too, so maybe Oni isn't Keystone. Or maybe this. But like, look at that. That's a fucking disaster. You can tell something happened here. Something caused a disruption in the meta. Now this is a very rough tier list, but like, look at that. Like, that's a fucking disaster. And it's all because of that one fucking perk. It's not because, like, the reason you know it's Circle of Healing is that even though medkits were OP, yeah, medkits were OP. And against medkit squads, some characters would be even worse. But like in a situation like this, where it's a perk and it's thus more prevalent, there's not like see, with items you have all other good options like flashlights and toolboxes are still okay if you can use them right, especially with dedicated builds. Like, the items in the game have uses. When over half the survivor perks are bad, like, what the hell else do you think they're gonna run? I think survivors would be more than willing to give up maybe a DS for a Circle of Healing slot, or an adrenaline for a circle. Maybe half the team gives up adrenaline and half the team gives up DS. So the threat of DS is still there, and you can still smack the killer with it. But then half the team puts aside their perks to get 4 Circle of Healings out on the board to cut down the killer's pressure at any, like, I don't know, dude. A shift of this magnitude is very ugly, and I think this is the reality we're facing right now. It looks very bad, and that's because it is. I think they need to change it. They need to nerf that perk pronto, ASAP.